Well, hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining me. I have the privilege of having another live event with you again. This is Karen Leonard, your special needs group travel industry ambassador, and I am so thrilled to have with me today, Oswaldo Guzman, who is a travel advisor with Avoya Travel, and he has an amazing story to share. He's got great tips and other wonderful things to share with us about working as an advisor with special needs and working with other folks that have special needs. So without further ado, I want to thank you for joining me and welcome you, Oswaldo. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thanks for coming. And let's just dive right in, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how did you become a travel advisor? What was it that attracted you and how did that all work?
So, very interesting story. I started planning my family's trips since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
So, I started reading articles about how to maximize your trips and how to travel with accessibility. Right when I was 9 years old, my mom was kind of scared at the beginning because she said, "Oh, you're just too young to do this." But after we took our first trip, she said it went absolutely wonderful and we had an amazing time. And then after that, when I graduated from college, I went to school for restaurant and hotel management. Um, and then I started my travel agency. So I focus on helping people with accessibility needs make the most of their trips.
Great. Can I ask where that first trip was? Where did you guys go?
So we went to Spain. So we did a
Wow.
trip to Madrid. Yeah, so we did a trip to Madrid, Seville, Barcelona. It was great. Not Barcelona, actually. We did Madrid and Galicia. I'm sorry.
And you were 9 years old when you planned that?
I was actually 8, now that I
Oh my
remember.
gosh. Oh my gosh. That's
Yes,
amazing. I'm a former travel advisor and I know all the ins and outs and all the variables involved. It's crazy. That is amazing. Obviously, travel is in your blood, no doubt.
absolutely. And I love it. I love to talk to people. I love to make other people happy. That's what I absolutely love to do.
All right. Well, tell me, what has been your biggest challenge in planning travel with special needs? And how can you, as an advisor, help or an advisor that knows something about this?
So, Karen, the reality is that the world as a whole, it is not currently built for accessibility. So, as travel advisors, we have to find a way to plan a tailored vacation to make sure that the guest has a vacation that is as barriers free as possible.
Mhm.
So, what I tell our guests is not every destination is the same. There's some destinations that are more accessible than others. That doesn't mean you're not able to travel. We can still plan an amazing trip and you're just still gonna have a great time. We just have to find that specific that vacation that can meet your needs.
Okay. And I love the fact that um, not only do you, from personal experience, you know what to look for and what to do, but the fact that you're setting the expectation right up front, I think that's fantastic because as a former travel advisor, I think, you know, sometimes travel advisors forget that and then they have that kind of conversation at the end when it could cause the whole thing to kind of crumble. So it's great that you set that proper tone up front, that proper expectation. I think that's fantastic. So
And another thing is that um, as the years go, we're gonna find companies that are more leaning towards accessibility. Look at the background that I have. I don't know if you can see it, but the
yeah.
background that I have right now is the Royal Caribbean two loft suite that
Hmm.
actually has an elevator that the guests can go up in their wheelchairs. So um, I mean, every company is working really hard, especially in the travel industry, to make it more accessible for guests, especially here in the U.S.
I agree, and you know, as long as people understand that in some places, like you said, it's just not as accessible. Some of the infrastructure has been around for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. So you know, it's going to take a while to build in some of these. But as you said, as people get more comfortable with travel, the demand is going to be higher. People and vendor suppliers are going to be more aware, and so they will make more accommodations. I think you're correct in that. Um, so tell me a little bit more about why somebody out there maybe with a special need or maybe not, but why it's so important to use a travel advisor and why to use you in particular, Oswaldo?
I think that's a great question. And I think as travel advisors, we have inside knowledge that maybe the consumer doesn't have. It is very easy to just go online and try to find a vacation, but we actually have relationships with suppliers where we can connect with them and say, I have this guest that have this specific need. What can we do? For instance, I work a lot with Royal Caribbean, and I always, when I have a guest with special needs, I always contact their special needs desk, and I say, here's what the guest is needing. Can you accommodate? A regular consumer may not know they need to go to the accessibility desk. They may not know what services are available to them. And as a travel advisor, especially a travel advisor that has a disability or a special need, I can emph- um, emphasize that if I can travel, they can travel as well.
Okay. And I really like that you said that you have those cultivated relationships. I also think there's a lot of training. You know, you mentioned inside knowledge. There's a lot of training that travel advisors take on an almost daily basis. You know, I know that a lot of travel advisors keep studying and studying and studying. So
There is
why should I use a travel advisor? And the other thing I always like to point out is that the guest does not pay the travel advisor. The travel advisor is paid by the supplier. So it's a very big boon. Wouldn't you say that's a big thing for somebody to know?
absolutely, and remember, we are giving the guest personalized service. We are there for the guest every step of their journey. It's not like I'm gonna book you and then I'm gonna just disappear. I am there for you whenever you need me. If you call me at night and you need me for any reason, you just need to discuss any um, areas of your trip, I am there for you anytime. If
Yeah,
you call the cruise line directly, or if you call the tour operator directly, their offices may be closed. They may put you on hold for a long time. That is another benefit to book with a travel advisor.
that's true. That's very, very true. So as a special needs traveler, what encouragement can you give to others that maybe thought travel was not available to them?
First of all, of course, reach out to a travel advisor. That's the first thing you should do so they can plan a trip that is tailored to your needs. Also, do some research along with your travel advisor. A lot of times, guests are they don't want to share too much information with the travel advisor, but it's very important that you understand that as a travel advisor, we need that information to be able to plan your trip. Um, you need to feel confident that we're going to be, first of all, we don't share that information. That information is private, it's between you and me. And then that is going to give us more ability to plan a better trip for you. As a travel advisor, a lot of travel advisors are scared to ask the questions they need to ask about accessibility. That is absolutely necessary.
What kind of let me ask you this. What are some of your favorite memories of travel? Maybe that involved a little bit of insider knowledge, you know, being someone who uses a power chair, who really, you know, maybe has to look for those extra special little things. What kind of experiences would you say using special needs equipment were a revelation to you or something that surprised you a little bit?
So one thing, my family loves to go to the beach, and
Hmm.
so one thing that we always look for is a beach wheelchair. That is absolutely amazing, especially because those have the big wheels that you can go around the beach, and it makes it a lot easier on the guests with disability or with special needs, and also on the family as well.
True.
Here in the US, also, when a guest is traveling domestically, I can recommend them to use paratransit services when they're on the destination, so it makes it a lot easier for them to travel around. As a person with special needs in the US, you are entitled to that paratransit service in any major city in the US, doesn't matter where you live. And I can always also guide the guest on how to apply for those services if they don't have it yet.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. See, again, having that insider knowledge. So, what would you say have been some of your highlights of trips that you've taken?
Personal trips or trips that I plan for my guests.
Well, let's start with personal trips and then we can talk about guests.
Yeah. So my biggest highlight was going to New York. We recently went to New York. And let me tell you this story because it's very, very interesting. We did a trip to New York, and I use a lot the Google app to
Hmm.
go around. The Google app has something really amazing. If you tell them that you have a wheelchair, it will give you different routes on where the subways are accessible or if they have an elevator.
Well,
So
that's
the
cool.
funny story about, yeah, the interesting story about this is that my mom sometimes she doesn't like to follow Google's directions. She likes to do it on her own. She likes to ask people around. So we went the way she wanted to go, and we got there. It's upstairs, and Google was saying, "No, this is not the right way to go. This is not the right way to go." We turned around and followed Google's advice, and right there was the elevator that was working.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was absolutely amazing. A lot of people said, "Oh, New York is not an accessible city." You can make it accessible. You can find those activities that are fully accessible for guests, and you can have an amazing time.
Well,
So definitely, I
absolutely.
would say New
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say? Definitely, you would say.
Yeah, so New York was which was a trip that I took a year ago was definitely one of my highlights because I found it to be very accessible, and I found that you cannot take other people's experiences and take it as your own. You have to experience the destination yourself and see whether or not they're accessible and whether or not they're good for your individual needs.
That's a very, very good point. And I share that with travel advisors as well when I talk to them about working with people with special needs. Just because you have one traveler who may be in a wheelchair and then another one comes along doesn't mean that they're going to have the same considerations made. They may have different specific needs and desires. So yeah, very good point. I like that. Um, so let's talk about guests. What kind of wonderful trips have you planned for guests?
So this is a when I first started as a travel advisor, I have this couple that called in. They have never taken a trip before. The gentleman was in a wheelchair, and she explaining to me that she believed that traveling in a wheelchair was going to be extremely difficult. They have never taken a honeymoon, so they wanted to do a honeymoon. I believe we were planning a whole America cruise.
Mhm.
So I told him, you know what? I'm in a wheelchair myself. And she said, oh, you're like our little angel because now you know what we need so that we can have a great trip. We planned the trip. We even, I asked Holland America to take pictures of the room so they can send it to me, the actual room. And then I send those over to the guest so they
Hmm.
knew that the room was actually accessible and the bathroom was big enough. They went on their trip. They have an amazing time. And other clients, they're my clients. So, and I guess whenever they came back, they said, I'm not going to book a trip ever again with anybody else but you because I know you take the trips like if they were your own trips. And I think that's very important. When I'm planning a trip for the guest, I said, what kind of service would I like to receive? What is some of the questions that I would like my own travel advisor to answer for me? And I think that's very important.
Absolutely. You could not have told that story any better. Truly. I mean, you know, knowing, putting yourself in the guest position, I think is so crucial. I'm so glad to hear you do that all the time. And just knowing maybe what little extra might help give the guest that peace of mind and having them take pictures. I wouldn't have even thought of that. And I've been in the industry for 15 years. So that's an amazing, little insight that an excellent travel advisor will do for you, just like you are. So that's fantastic, Oswaldo. I love to hear that. So what would you say your most fulfilling experience would be as a travel advisor? Would that have been it or another one?
I think so. There is another experience of a guest who needed to be they were in a cruise as well. There was another couple that have booked multiple trips with me, and he had a kidney stone. He couldn't walk really well, and he had to be airlifted to a hospital from the cruise ship.
Oh my.
Um, he so he ended up going to a hospital. I'm trying to think. No, he wasn't airlifted. He was. They needed to take him from the cruise line in an ambulance. I'm sorry, and then they needed medical evacuation. The insurance company, it was hard to contact them. The wife called me at 10 p.m. at night, and I pick up the phone and I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "I cannot believe it's 10 p.m. at night and you're still taking my call." No, I am not okay. Nobody's helping me here. I called Royal Caribbean's partner, which is called On-Call International for insurance, and
Mhm.
I booked the tickets for them through the travel insurance. And we got them home, and she even recorded a video and sent it over to me, saying how thankful she was that I took care of them when they were going through those difficult times.
And that is another benefit of working with a travel advisor. If you have an issue, granted that was pretty severe, but even a small issue, you lose your passport, something happens, and you can count on your travel advisor to be there with you to resolve it and get it, get you.
Absolutely.
That's a fantastic story. I'm so glad they were able to make it home okay, that you took care of them, because I can't imagine the terror that goes through you, just the horror of you're stuck in a strange country. Well, not strange, a
They
foreign country, and you don't know where to turn.
they were they were actually in Greece, and they don't
Oh
have private
my.
hospitals in the island they were. It was very difficult, but I will tell you that story was so inspirational that this family lives in Orlando. And so when I went to Orlando for a trip, they actually invited me to lunch because they said I need to meet you in person because you got just the gentleman said you saved my life because you took care of us, you sent us to the right hospitals. It was a very, very fulfilling experience for me as a travel advisor.
Absolutely. That's what I call the paychecks of the heart, boy. They just make you feel so good, don't they?
Absolutely, yes.
So, in closing, what do you have any final words of advice or encouragement, especially for those with special needs that didn't think travel was available to them, but just for anyone in general?
Absolutely. One thing that I was thinking about recently is I do a lot of reviews uh, of places that I go, and I always talk about the accessibility of the places. And so recently, I was thinking about um, how I could make my reviews better, and I found out that I was focusing a lot on my accessibility needs, and I was saying, "Oh, this place is accessible." And then in talking to someone, I realized, well, it is accessible for me, but I have a physical disability. There's all kinds of disabilities, whether it's autism, whether it's that you are visually impaired, that I was not focusing on those. So now my advice to people is be as specific as you can. If
Mm.
you're broad, both as a travel advisor and as a guest, that's not going to help you. You need to, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, be open and be as specific as you could. Because without that, you don't know what services are available to you and what your travel advisor can do to make your travel experience a better one.
That's well put. Absolutely well put. We as travel advisors are not mind readers. We can be miracle workers, but we're not mind readers. So, yeah, you
And
have
one thing that I wanted to say, your company, the Special Needs Group, who would have thought many, many years ago we would have a company that is fully dedicated to make the journey of a guest with special need better. So that's all you do. That's the focus of your company. So if you think about it, many years ago, nobody would have thought that was even possible.
yeah.
So that that is just amazing, and that makes me feel that we are making progress. And the more progress we make, the more people with special needs will be willing to travel, and we will be a more inclusive world.
I agree. And thank you for that. Our goal, our tagline is delivering an accessible world. And we depend very heavily on travel advisors such as yourself to help us get the word out that folks can travel and they should travel. I think of travel as the one equalizer, getting to understand somebody else's culture, understand how they live their lives and understand the differences, but also the similarities that we have around the world. You know, we all bleed red, right? we all
Exactly.
same emotional impacts and things in life, and being able to see how other people live, I think, is something that everyone should be able to experience. So we're very happy to support our travel advisor partners, no doubt. So I want to say, if you want to get a hold of Oswaldo, please contact him. His office phone, local number 346-291-6453. Again, 346-291-6453, or you can reach him toll free at 877-736-9899. His email is Oswaldo, and that's OSWALDO .Guzman, GUZMAN. So Oswaldo.Guzman at avoyanetwork.com. And finally, you can reach him on his website at avoyatravel.com/IA/Oswaldo Guzman. And this information is also in the chat of this Zoom meeting. So if you have any questions at all about how you can travel, where you can go, and how to make that just a wonderful experience, please reach out to Oswaldo. He obviously has tons of personal experience and tons of experience working with other folks. So thank you so much, Oswaldo. Any parting words?
Absolutely no. It was my pleasure to be here. And remember, that adventure that you're waiting for is closer than you think. So like she said, if you have any questions whatsoever, give me a call and I'll be happy to talk to you and help you out. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Oswaldo. Very well said. Take care, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.